Hey everybody, welcome back to the basement. Welcome back to the layout. Today it's time for us to finally go ahead and give you a full tour of my O-gauge train room. So let's go ahead and get started. So what makes a train room special? Well, any train room is unique, and that's what I think which makes it really cool. Is if you ever go to visit a friend or someone that's doing an open house that has a train room in their basement, they're all unique and totally different. And you picture maybe what it looks like, maybe you've seen photos, maybe you've seen videos on YouTube, and the first time you come down the steps or go into the pole barn or into the room wherever they have their trains is a completely different experience because it's finally seeing it in 3 dimensions. You really get to see the full scale of that space. And a lot of times there's a lot more happening in a train room than just the trains. And that's something that we don't typically show here on the channel. Usually we're just highlighting some trains or a scene on the layout. And so I figured let's do a full video that shows you my whole basement, the whole train room area. So when folks are down here, you've seen videos of people that have taken video of my layout. You can kind of see what they're experiencing when they're here in my space. So we're gonna get started with that. We'll do some stats and facts of the layout as we go through this. This will be a full overview of the basement space, the layout that's incorporated down here as well. So let's go ahead and let's jump in. Come on. So when you come down the steps here, you're greeted by 2 Stoddart signs. These I picked up from Cabin Fever auctions a couple years ago. This one is nickel plate 759. It was damaged when it was sold in the auction, so I got it for a pretty good price. These are really cool signs. They actually light up. I did a video on these a while ago. I would love to get some more, but Stoddart's has not reopened their shop since they've moved. On the left side coming down, we've got this wooden dolphin. This was in my grandparents' beach house, and I was fortunate enough to be able to acquire it a few years ago. Coming on down, we've got the Wheeling Lake Erie SD40-2s and the tunnel motors there. A photo of the big boy for my dad. And we come down the steps right into the center of the main section of the layout. One of the features I love about when you come down the basement is we have the station platform kind of right here in the foreground, and the trains can kind of pass behind that, and then we've got the town there as well, so kind of a cool look. So if we come down the steps and we turn to our left, you're going to see the turntable, the roundhouse area, and then the diesel facility. And then if we keep going, you're going to actually see the entertainment side of the basement here. This is an area that I don't show all that often. So this was actually just redone. I just refinished this myself. Now, I finished the basement myself when we bought this house back in 2017. Finished the basement to save some money so I could put the train layout in. And I had done a whole different kind of scheme down here. I did a lot of the 1/4-inch plywood shiplap, mostly because I didn't want to finish drywall. And so that's what this was with a small 55-inch TV. Back in August, I decided to begin planning a revamp project. So I pulled all the shiplap off, finished the drywall. These are just lowers from Lowe's. And then what we did was I built some cabinets here, the uppers. Those I constructed myself in my shop. We added a big TV here from Costco, did the countertop and added some electrical controls from underneath and the LED lighting from Govee as well. So that is this new area here. And then we actually have the Govee lights up top as well. So the back 2 are controlled by the camera for the TV. So you get a really cool effect when the lights are all dimmed down here in the basement. So what are the benefits of having a space like this in the basement? Well, when you have a lot of people coming over, you want a place where people can sit down. So a lot of times when we have people over, like for York or things like that, we actually take this couch, we push it, we spin it, push it against that wall. So that way you have a lot of free space to move back and forth here to see the layout. But then you've got a nice place for people to just sit and relax. And you've probably seen some videos of people doing that down here in my basement. And so you've got a nice place you can just kind of sit back, relax, watch television while all the other folks are over here watching the trains go around. It's also important that we have a space for the family to come down here as well. We like to come down here and enjoy movies. And so we have a space where we can do that. It's not completely taken up just by trains. Now my kids are getting older, and so I've been thinking about some plans to expand the living space down the basement, which would require a change to the layout as well. That is a future project though. So this is the living space that I have in my basement. Let's go back to the train layout space, and then we'll see the bonus space we have in the back. Let's go this way. So now we're just kind of turning this way, and you can see I've got the couch pushed pretty far back here against where the diesel facility is. Now, when I had originally built this layout, if you have been watching for a long time, you know the layout ended here. And this was all added later on when I added this diesel shed. So I had a lot more space between the layout and where the living space is. But now it's a little bit tighter. But that's okay, because when it's just me or some friends, we got plenty of space. And when I have a lot of people, I can move the couch. So over here, we've got our diesel facility. This is an Altoona Model Works diesel facility kit that I built myself. Really easy kit to build. Highly recommended if you're looking at some really higher end scenic kits and you're looking for something. This is a great facility. This roof pops off. You can kind of peek in at the platform and stuff in there. I've got the SD45s from Lionel sitting in there. They're weathered because, you know, the paint's not right. So that's this facility here. We've got the Atlas coaling tower, or excuse me, sanding towers. We've got things that my friends hit on the layout during York. We've got, so the sanding towers, we've got some other scenic parts and things like that down here. Lots of Conrail engines, new Vision Line GG1s there. Lots of other great stuff. And then if we look over here, we've got the Altoona Model Works Roundhouse, a much more complicated build than the diesel facility, but definitely something that's worthwhile of having on your layout. And then we've got these two mainline loops that come around. But if we look at just this engine facility here, we've got a bunch of different whisker tracks that come off that turntable. That is a Millhouse River Studios 28-inch turntable. So there's an M1 sitting on there. You can see it takes up just about the full distance there. And then I do have a line that comes across here and straight across the layout that fits that big boy. So you'll see that, I think that's 4019 sitting over there on the siding. That goes straight across because it cannot turn on that turntable. And then we've got a couple of siding tracks as well in this facility. So back by that Golden Gate Depot coaling tower, you've got two long spur lines there. So we've got those E9 units. We've got our Atlantic back there in the Sharknose diesels. And then we've got another siding that comes across here where we've got our old 4012 big boy and auxiliary tender. Coming back this way, we look all the way down the main straight and town area of the layout. Now, from that corner to that corner is about 36 feet. So 36 feet of space. Again, this layout is two main loops, and then we've got an upper level loop as well and a lower level reversing loop. We're not going to go full track plan. We're mostly looking at the space today. So let's keep going, and then we're going to talk about train displays. So we're going to walk down this way. So the layout comes down this way, and then it actually turns and goes around the corner. So you can kind of see the view here. This space, you've got about 4 feet here and about 4.5 feet on this side. So enough space to kind of move around and stand around and talk. Layout comes around this way and then all the way over here. So you can kind of see the space you have there. We're about 11 feet off this wall here. From this wall to the far wall is about 28 feet or so. And so we can kind of come down this way. And you can see how much space we've got back here. So I've got about 5 or 6 feet back here of space that I can put tables and things like that. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff sitting here right now. It's not super clean. I've also got the backdrop that comes all the way over, but we can roll it back up and move it if we want to. I've actually never done that. We always just keep that backdrop up to provide those clouds for that upper level loop that we have up here. Coming back this way, we've got our table here, door to the back area. We'll look at that in a minute. And then we've got some train signage. We've got just a closet that is a Hot Mess Express kid stuff, toys, things like that. And then obviously we've got all sorts of storage underneath the layout that Kevin likes to get into. Kevin, what are you doing? We started the show today? Yeah. So that is the train room. Let's look at storage and display shelves. Train storage and train box storage is always a mess. So we'll kind of talk about that, but most of my boxes are under the layout. I think that's probably fairly common. I do have some in the back of my basement where we have a little bonus gym area, and then I've got my little workbench. So we'll talk about that at the end. But storage or displaying trains is always really nice because you don't have to put them into boxes and things like that. So let's go ahead and check that. Back over here in the TV area, I've got some shelves that I built. These are just plywood shelves that I built, and then I cut out grooves for the trucks to sit in. So we've got our Atlas Penn Central E-Unit and Lionel cars. We've got our Atlas Metro North cars and Atlas P42 there, and Conrail Metro North unit. Coming over here, we've got Glenn Snyder display shelves on this wall. So a couple of those. Up top, I've got more shelves that I built here. And then if we pan around this way, more that I built on this side too. So I try to display, I mean, obviously the Aberdeen set's a fantastic looking set. We're going to try to keep that one out because it's one that I just really enjoy to look at. This is the nickel plate fast freight set from not too long ago. We've got my TMCCE units, which were one of the first engines that I bought getting back into the hobby. And then my old Williams Bud cars up top. Over here, we've got more Glenn Snyder display shelves on this wall. I think this is about 16 feet in length or so. So you can see I've got most of my Rocky Mountaineer set. We're missing just one of the other diesels. I just can't fit it, so it's on the other shelf. And then we've got our Conrail OCS and our Acela set here as well. And we've got a couple more shelves up top up there. I do have trains stored, just sitting, pieces of rolling stock sitting here. We've got, again, more train boxes under the layout, but there's also a lot of decorations on the layout too. A lot of our holiday decorations sit down under this area here. So it's a little chaotic. Over on this side of the layout, I've actually got the kids' old table, which is currently being used for storage because we don't really use that anymore. And then just some boxes. In fact, these are Trinity hoppers that I haven't opened. I've got some old Berwicks. These are actually the really nice Canadian Pacific ones that are really hard to find that I picked up from my buddy Brian from the Van Rail channel. I have to open those up too. Over on this side, we've got our control system and things like that. We've got all of our buttons for our switches, controls for our power, track power. We've got our Z4000. There's a ZW under there with our legacy base and a base 3 that's currently just a paperweight because I haven't set it up. Some of the other things we have are some just, train decor and stuff down here in the basement. So this is a sign that was actually, a bunch of these were commissioned by guys at my club. So Lionel sign there, which is pretty awesome. Love having that on when we have people over in the basement. Dogs are going nuts upstairs. So that's par for the course. Then we've got this awesome photo of Strasbourg 89. Again, this was a canvas print that was done by a bunch of the guys at the club. And so that's where I was able to pick that up. Over here, we've got a Angela Trotta Thomas Lionel 2332 GG1, autographed by her. I picked this up at Train World on my first visit up there, or Train Land. Angela Trotta Thomas was there with a bunch of different pieces of artwork, so went up and grabbed this. And then one of my favorite things I have in the basement is this Pullman Palace car. This is an old stock certificate, but the cool thing, this is actually this is my grandfather's, and then passed down to me, is when we turned it over, it is actually dated and signed by George Pullman himself, which is pretty cool. Family heirloom there. So that's pretty neat. So that's some of the decor I have. And then my buddy Brian from the Van Rail channel, the greatest YouTube channel you've never heard of, left me a little something there as well. Around the basement, I've got some of these old and new iron railroad signs. So a couple of these are actually old, and again, they're from my grandparents' beach house, the Burlington Northern, the Chief New York Central System, the Hartford, the Northern Pacific. These were all from their house, and I've got a couple new ones that I purchased just on Amazon. And the Erie Lackawanna sign is actually from my buddy Kevin Quinn. He had this. Not going to ask how I got it, but I was able to grab this from him. So just a really cool, railroading sign to have here in the layout room as well. A big thing in basements with train layouts is lighting. As you can see, just the difference in changing as I'm walking through the basement. Now, I added a lot more lights down here since I finished the basement, and keep in mind that the two lights back here are syncing with the television, which is why it looks a little bit darker. But let's talk about layout lighting and what I have down here in my basement. So what I have here above the turntable area is track lighting, and you'll see this actually comes all the way back here, because when I added the diesel facility, I needed more lighting. And in fact, I wish I would have added it back even further because we still have some shadows over here, but that's okay. So this is just LED track lighting. All these are LED, nothing incandescent, so they don't run hot, because airflow down here is really tough when you've got a lot of people and you don't need the lights adding more heat. So, and I can add a bunch more of these for a fairly decent price on Amazon. You can get like a 6-pack of these heads and just snap right into the track lighting. Now over here, There's some different, just like LED. Now, these are not wafer lights. These were put in by the electrician when I finished the basement. He came in and put these in. I would like to change these out at some point in time. I'll probably change them out and put in like big 6-inch wafer lights, the LED ones, and that should change some of the color here because it's definitely not ideal. Now, over in this area, all of these LED lights are new. I added a ton of these not too long ago, and I have a video that maybe I'll link somewhere here of putting all these in, because originally there were no lights here and it was really dark. Let's see if I can find some old footage of this area, and you'll see some. So I added all these wafer lights, and these three are actually, you can see they kind of can move, which is perfect for the front of the layout here. But then it just really helped to brighten this whole space up, change the whole look of the layout and the basement by adding these lights. Over on this side, we have more of the track lighting that was installed when I had the electrician come in and wire up the basement after we had done all the setting and drywalling. So he came in, added this, and I've just added more light heads over time to get more lighting here on the layout. And so that is what that is. But these wafer lights are key. They're awesome. If I could go back and redo this, I would probably have the track lighting line up a little bit more with where the layout would have been. Probably would fix that and add some more of these LED lights and then wire them separately. Right now I'm on one switch for all the lights in the basement. Really wish I could go back and turn the layout lights off and then turn the LED lights off and then keep the lights on over by the television. Unfortunately, I can't do that under my current setup. So live and learn. Basement. And then if we come back here, we've got a little bit of a bonus space. So we wanted to make sure that we had enough storage. Now this is a mess, so forgive me. But if we open this area back here, we've got a bicycle that I got after my hip surgery that I haven't used all that often anymore. And just a little weight room area. I've got an elliptical treadmill, TV back here, a little gym. So this is a nice space that we've got. And then the chaos of the back of the basement. Train storage, train storage, train storage. So boxes, cars, just different ways to store them. I just kind of split these shelves to get the cars in there. So they are in there kind of protected from dust and things like that back here. I have more shelving here for train boxes. And then we've got just workbench area back here as well. It's a hot mess express, as you can see. This needs to be reorganized. I just built the other shelf here, so these boxes still just need to get kind of put away and out of the way. So that is the back of the basement space. So this is a nice bonus area, bonus space that we have back here that allows us to still kind of have a gym space and storage. And I've got my workbench back there for working on the trains and things like that. So that is my O-gauge train room. All right, everybody, so that's it. That is my O-gauge train room in a nutshell. Decorations, lighting, the layout itself. Eventually, I think I'll do a full, more detailed layout overview. But this gives you an idea of kind of what is in the space that I see when I'm down here and when other people are down here, kind of bring you down into the space itself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to send the GG1 set around the layout a little bit. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below and I will try to answer them for you. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yard boss says we're good down on the east end. Let's get rolling while I call for signals.